What do you get when you've got not just one Dithering Dave, but two? A reluctance to make a goddamn decision. That's what. Good evening. How are we all today? Yeah, reluctance to make a decision. What other information does David Sullivan really need? What other information could he possibly need at this point? I mean, we're not going to finish in the European spots. We're going to finish in the table. You know, anywhere between like 8th and 11th. He's got all the information he needs. Just make a decision. I know he says he wants to honour David Moyes' contract. He can still do that. Of course he can still do that. You know, he doesn't need to sack him on the spot. He's not going to like go up to him and say, I don't want you next season as our manager. You're sacked now. No, you say, like, just let you go. I'm not going to renew your contract at the end. That's all he has to do. That's all he has to do. Why is he different? Why is he delaying? And Moyes, I'm pretty sure that he knows what he wants to do at this point. All right, he either wants to be West Ham United manager or he doesn't, and he can make his thoughts or desires clear to David Sullivan. Is he going to? No. I personally don't think that David Moyes wants to continue on as West Ham United. I mean, he might do, but I think he's giving that demeanour off at the moment that his time is kind of like come to an end, and he probably feels. I think he feels frustrated that he doesn't think that he is appreciated, which is actually wrong, because I think he is appreciated by the majority of West Ham United fans, but they've just had enough of some of the decisions he makes and some of the football he plays and things like that, and most of us just feel like it's time to move on. Okay, so like, why are we differing? Why are we delaying? Why? Now, I think one of the possible explanations is that David Sullivan is not 100% certain that we are going to find the ideal replacement for David Moyes. The problem is, though, you're never going to be 100% sure that you've got the ideal replacement. You can find a manager that ticks all the boxes and then they could fail miserably. It's going to be a risk bringing in a new manager because, we know this from the past. We've been through many managers over the last 30 years that have come in, started off okay, and then it's gone to shit, basically. And that is a risk that it could happen again, or we could get a manager in that just carries on and builds on the success of the last 3 years and pushes us to the next level. We just do not know. We do not know. And I've got my favourite. The manager that I would like to see come in would be Fonseca. He's got a fairly decent record in a few different European leagues, a Ukrainian league, Portuguese league, French league. He's done okay. He's always kind of seen out his contract, so I think he's only ever been sacked once. So it kind of says to me that he has a little bit of consistency when he is at clubs. So that would probably be my favourite choice. He does play some exciting football, possession-based football as well. And Aston Villa fans are fearful of him because Lille gave Aston Villa a really hard time in the Conference League quarter-final a couple of weeks ago. So he would be my preferred choice, personally. Lopetegui is the other one whose name keeps on popping up. He is not someone that I personally would like to see at West Ham United because he just seems to be the complete opposite of Fonseca, where he always seems to get sacked. He strikes me as that kind of manager that will come in, have a good season, and then it'll go to shit. And then we need to bring someone in to steady the ship, and we're left back being in the exact same position we were when David Moyes took over. But that is the worry. And I think that is what pundits say when they say, be careful what you wish for, because we could end up with a manager that, does exactly something like that. We have a good season, and then we have a really bad season. We're in a relegation battle, a really bad, where we could get relegated, and we have to then move the manager on and bring someone else in. So, yeah, it's a big decision that needs to be made, bringing it in. And I think David Sullivan is fearful that he can't find the right person. So he just wants to keep all his eggs in the same basket at the moment, and basically say, you know what, if we can If we can't bring the right manager in, then we'll stick with Moyes for another season. And I was just like, you don't want to be doing that. You don't want to be doing that. And I know some people are saying things like, oh, he's doing it because of the season tickets and things like that. But I can't see him delaying it that long, personally. Ah, fuck's sake. What? What is going on? I've disappeared again. This is getting really annoying. If you can hear me, guys, I will be back in a second. I'm back. I need a new computer. It's got a mind of its bloody own, this thing, I tell you. Mind of its bloody own. But I can't afford a new one. So that's not going to happen anytime soon. Anyway, where was I? David Sullivan. And trying to find a new manager. Yeah, he could. I was talking about season tickets, and he could possibly. There's talk that he could be delaying, to try and convince people that we are getting a new manager, and that's the reason why he's dithering at the moment, because he actually plans on keeping David Moyes, but he's not going to announce it until after June 3rd when the season ticket renews. But I can't see that being beneficial to anyone, including David Sullivan. And I actually don't think he cares about season ticket renewals. I really don't, because there's a waiting list for season tickets. So if anyone doesn't want to renew their season ticket, someone else will buy them up. So I don't think it bothers him personally. So I don't think he's doing it for that reason. I just think he's just unsure about what decision he wants to make. So he's just delaying, and it's just frustrating. It's frustrating, isn't it? Anyway, let's have a look and see who's in the comments. Usual suspects. How you doing? Ipswich won over half time, and so is Real Madrid. Yeah, I saw the Real Madrid on. That's good for Ipswich. I want to see Ipswich go up. If they win, they go up, don't they? I think they get promoted if they win tonight. I think that's the case, because they won against Hull at the weekend, didn't they? So that's good. Evening usual. Ray of Hope. James, afternoon from the States. Whereabouts in the States are you from, James? My brother lives over in the States. He lives over near Seattle. Whereabouts are you from? Usual Saturday evening. Evening, William. Evening, Steve. How you doing? How are we all doing? Yeah, very, very easy statement to make for Donovan to make. He don't help himself with his blameless attitude. What, the David Sullivan or David Moyes, you mean, who doesn't like to blame anyone, really, or he doesn't like to blame himself. Ian, problem is Sullivan's ideal manager, i.e. Moyes' clone, will not be the majority of fans' ideal for the ideal manager. Now, this is a point which I find really interesting, because Moyes is Sullivan's ideal manager, because what Moyes has done for West Ham United has been really good. He has delivered consecutive seasons in Europe. He has delivered a European trophy, but all that means as well, it's really good for the business side of West Ham United. So he is the ideal manager, because he's brought stability, he's brought Premier League security, he's brought funds and money in through the success that he has built at West Ham United, and he doesn't like to spend a lot of money. So he's the ideal manager for David Sullivan. And is David Sullivan going to look for that kind of manager again? That's a worry. I don't personally trust David Sullivan to bring in a new manager. I really hope that he gives Steiden the creative choices, or he listens to him basically, and he takes his advice for who our new manager should be, and not just completely disregard it and go with whoever he really wants. Alex, I don't care about David Moyes. I just hope we keep Tim Steiden. Yeah, I think Tim Steiden will stay, unless David Sullivan completely ignores him, and then he might bugger off if he feels like he's not being listened to. That is a worry. Danny, it won't change until Sullivan is gone. Run like a circus. Yeah, is times like this where you do feel like we are run like a circus. Like I've always said about the owners of West Ham that we could definitely have a lot better owners, but we could also have a lot worse. They're not the worst owners in the world, but they're definitely not the best. And there's a lot of things that Sullivan does that really irritates me. The annoying thing is you never. The only time you ever really hear from him is when he's talking about things he shouldn't be talking about. Do you know what I mean? You would just like him to have a little bit. We would like to see a little bit more clarity from him. Like to get an insight into why some of the things that happen, and maybe there'll be a book released one day, and things will be a lot clearer why certain deals didn't happen or certain decisions weren't made. But at the moment, it just looks from the outside perspective that he's a cheap bastard and doesn't like to spend money. But you can argue against that where he has spent money, and we have spent a fair bit in the transfer market over the last 5 years. If you look, we're one of the highest spenders. So he does spend money, but he likes to do it conservatively. He likes to do it the right way. He doesn't like to buy contracts, buy managers out of contracts, which is a reason why I don't think we're going to get Almond in, because he's got like a £13 million release clause. So I don't think that's going to happen, which is why I think one of the free agents is the most likely, which is why you got managers like Hansi Flick and Lopetegui and Fonseca being mentioned, because two of them are out of a job at the moment, and Fonseca's contract at Lille ends at the end of the season, so there'll be no buyout clause there. So yeah, it's a worry with Sullivan. It really is. Nothing will change, and we'll be back here 6 after season until Sullivan goes. Yeah, I'll say this is the fear that we're just gonna revert back. We're gonna go back to getting in a manager that does well for a season, then it all goes to crap. Then Sullivan gets what he wants and gets to bring in a manager that will do all the things that he likes to do. That's not so much of a risk, which is a bit it's a concern, isn't it? We're not going to get new owners anytime soon. No, if you're wishing for that. Like, it just ain't going to happen. I just can't see him doing it. I really can't. I said it on the video this morning. Thankfully, Donovan doesn't have a controlling share of West Ham Gold. Greenski and Trip Smith, who combined them share override. Donovan, yeah, I'm not sure. I can't remember the exact split, but I know Quensky and the problem is that Vanessa Gold is looking to sell on some of those shares. So, on some of the shares that she has. So how much interest does she actually have? Is she willing to just kind of like go with what Sullivan says? She'll vote in his favour. This is the problem. Yeah, he doesn't have a full controlling interest, but he is the majority shareholder, I believe, isn't he? As far as I remember. And it wouldn't take a lot, but I think the way that it's all set up, if like Quincy wants to buy more shares, he has to then make a bid or something like that. The way it's all set up. But as I say, I don't think we're going to see new owners at any time. But I think the majority of decisions are mostly down to Mr. Sullivan, and I don't think he gets a lot of a lot of fight really. But I think Quincy might be. You never really hear much about him, do you? You really don't. No, they play against the other winner to see who goes up. Who are you on about? Ipswich. You on about Ipswich? If they finish second, they get automatic promotion. So you Texas, James. Born there at the moment? I don't know. Don't really know too much about Texas, to be honest with you. I know it can be hot and it's big, very, very big. That's all I really know about Texas. Like guns as well. Is your computer at Del Moyes? Do you know what? It's a Del. It's a Del. It's not a Del Moyes, but it's a bloody pain in the arse sometimes, I tell you. Ian, I think we have got to go with whoever Tim wants. Essential to make the director of football model work. Yeah. And because Tim Stein, I think, is looking for a manager that he can work with. which is why I think Tuchel's name is still being, floated about. I think Tuchel is looking for a bigger job personally. Obviously he was at Chelsea. Now he's at Bayern Munich in the Champions League, so he's looking for another big job. But if he's not given one, then you never know. He could be tempted. He was originally going to be working with Tim Steidten at Chelsea, but Chelsea didn't. He didn't. Tim Steidten was going to join Chelsea, and then Chelsea sacked Tuchel, so he ended up coming to West Ham. So, Tuchel could be tempted. Maybe he is another manager I actually think could do a decent job if he is given time, and he would work well with Steidten. I think the director of football model works really well when you've got a director of football and a manager who, are working on a project together, who are on the same page. And while I do think that Moyes and Steidten have got on, I'm not sure that they've always been on the same page. You're always going to have disagreements within football clubs, but we know that Moyes is a lot more conservative, a lot more cautious about bringing in new players compared to probably someone like Steidten, who probably is more willing to take risks than David Moyes. So he'll be looking for a manager that will probably see things a little bit more his way than Moyes did, even though I still do think that Moyes and Steidten have always got on well. Different David Moyes, but different David Sullivan is dangerous. It is dangerous. This is very true. We're always going to get a freebie, unfortunately. Shame, as its most important investment. Yeah, I mean, you would like to see things change, wouldn't you? I mean, it's not a bad thing looking at the managers that are available and not going to cost any money. That's not a bad thing. I personally think Fonseca would be a really good appointment for us. I think he would be. I think he's a manager that could do well with us. I'm not saying that he would be able to necessarily take us to the next step, but out of all the ones that have been suggested so far, he strikes me as the one that I think would be a good appointment. And because his contract is coming to an end at Lille, it would work for all parties. But yeah, I think you talk about Almiron, and we talk about Almiron bringing him in and paying him out of his contract, and Sullivan will be looking at that appointment and thinking, right, it's 13 million or whatever to pay him out of his contract. He's got 4 or 5 years experience in management, only ever managed in the Portuguese league and only really managed at one team. That is a risk. That is a risk because you don't know how he's going to adjust to the Premier League or to English football. You don't even know if he could do a proper job outside of Portugal, let alone in the Premier League, which we all know is a very, very different league. So bringing a manager in like Almiron, who does play very high intensity, a high line as well. He pressure football, high pressure football, and attacking football. Would it necessarily work in the Premier League as much? We've seen teams. I would actually strike him as probably playing a similar way to Big Ange, Almiron. You'd probably see similar football to what Tottenham are playing. And while it is really good at attacking football, you can see how vulnerable defensively Tottenham are. And one of, I think, the big criticisms Tottenham fans have of Big Ange is that he doesn't really concentrate on the defensive side as much as he probably should. So while they are quite happy with the attacking football that they're playing, they want to see more defensive football because they want a nice balance. So yeah, that is a risk because you do want to see a balance. You want to see a good defense and good, nice, fast attacking football as well. And I think Almiron would probably be a little bit of a risk. I'm not saying he would be a bad manager, but if you compared him to like Fonseca, I would probably say Fonseca would be a safer bet, but you'd still get better football than you were getting under David Moyes. Hang on. I must say that most of the head coaches being mentioned aren't really Sullivan's tried and tested types, and at the same time, they don't, for me, seem to be what I thought Tim would bring to the table. I mean, Almiron strikes me as a manager that Tim would bring to the table, because I think he played a big part in bringing Alonso into Leverkusen before he left there. So yeah, Almiron is one that really does strike me as someone that he would like. Like Tuchel would be another manager that would strike me as a Steiden choice. But apparently both Steiden and Sullivan do like Fonseca. I don't think Steiden is completely sold on Lopetegui. I think Sullivan is more sold on him than Steiden. And I know that he has also been linked with AC Milan. And the AC Milan fans are not happy about that. They don't want him. So for that reason as well, that's another reason why I personally wouldn't want Lopetegui at West Ham United. So yeah, Fonseca does strike me as a manager that Tim Steiden may like or may be able to work with. Yeah, and I say Almiron as well. That strikes me as one that Tim Steiden would be cool with too. PB, I do still hold a glimmer of hope that it's smoke and mirrors and Sully is putting faith in Tim and we get Fonseca or someone. I mean, we had unexpected buys like Kudus and Paquetá out of nowhere. This is really true. I mean, it is true. I mean, I think Sullivan likes to keep the cards, as I say, close to his chest. And yeah, it could be all smoke and mirrors. They could have already made the decision. They could have. They're just saying all this because... Actually, I don't know why they're saying all this. If they've made the decision, it doesn't make any sense why they wouldn't tell anyone. I don't know. So if it is smoke and mirrors, it's a really confusing situation as to why they wouldn't announce it. Like, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they come out and say, no, this is going to be David Moyes' last season. He is moving on. We are actively looking for a new manager. Like they've done it with Klopp. You see other managers do it. The Tuchel is leaving Bayern Munich at the end of the season. I think Xavi was leaving Barcelona, but he's not anymore. So you see it all the time. So if we have made the decision, it makes no sense as to why we haven't announced it. But knowing Sullivan, it does make a lot more sense that he hasn't made the decision because he's questioning his decisions, or he just wants to make sure that he's going to get in the right man because he's not certain that we can bring in a manager who he would deem or he would think is a better replacement or is a better manager to bring in rather than David Moyes. I think he is genuinely looking for that upgrade. But if he doesn't think he can find it, he might just say, do you know what? I think we're better off with David Moyes for another season. We'll see what's available next season. And that is my concern. That is definitely my concern. But yeah, David Sullivan is the root of all West Ham problems. I don't think he's the root of all our problems. He's definitely up there, though. Definitely up there. The Championship has one more game left to play. They will play that. Yeah, I know, but I think Ipswich only had to win 2 of their games to guarantee they would finish because they had 2 more games to play compared to Leeds. And I'm going to go look now because the question's bugging me. Championship. Oh no! Did they draw their game against Hull at the weekend? That must have been it. I think they're winning at the moment, are they? Oh no, it's a draw at the moment. No, it's a draw at the moment because Coventry have equalised. So if they win, they will be on 93 points. So then Ipswich would only need a point at the weekend to grab or make promotion. That's it. Got it. And then Leeds will go into the playoffs. Right. Right. Trouble is, Sullivan likes to get his sticky fingers all over the place, and Tim will have his work cut out trying to get control and ending it for Tim. Well, I wish I could disagree with that. I wish I could argue it. I'd love to say that, yeah, I'm not entirely sure if that is the case, but yeah, we know he does. We know he likes to get his fingers into all the damn pies and stick his nose in where it doesn't necessarily need to be. We do see that a lot from David Sullivan. And I mean, look, at the end of the day, he is the owner of the football club. He has the right to do that. But sometimes it feels like the things he does are not necessarily what are best for West Ham, but what is more he thinks is best for West Ham, not what we think is best for West Ham. And sometimes they marry up. We both agree that the things he's doing are good for West Ham, and sometimes we don't. And this is where I go back to that argument where I say that you could have worse owners or you could have better owners, because I don't think any owner will always do everything that you would not always agree with everything an owner does. And sometimes you can disagree with absolutely everything an owner does. But I think with someone like David Sullivan, sometimes you can look and think, you know what, he's made a good decision there. And then sometimes you look at him and you think, no, he's a complete idiot. Not the worst owner in the world, not the best owner in the world. Could definitely have worse. Bayern have equalised, apparently. Bringing in Tim wasn't a Sullivan decision. We know that somebody on the board is exerting their power. So you have two of those. But yeah, I do think that was a Krasinski move to bring Tim Steiden in, or it was at least a recommendation to bring him in. Which, yeah, so that says to me that Krasinski does have some say. He does like to get involved. So, yeah, it's not a Sullivan ideal. Maybe he was brought in to try and help Sullivan make better decisions, or try and convince him to make better decisions, or try and take some of the control away from Sullivan, and Sullivan is reluctant to let it go. I don't know. Like we honestly, none of us really know what goes on behind the scenes. We really don't. I have hope. I still think it will be Amaron, because Sullivan said Moyes' situation will be resolved after the Portuguese Cup final. Did he say the Portuguese Cup final, or did he say at the end of the season? Did he actually say the Portuguese Cup final? I didn't see that quote anyway. If he did, though, that is interesting. But I haven't seen that quote. I'm not looking for just all-out attack, balance and flexibility, squad management, and gift development is what I like. I think that's what we're all looking for, isn't it? It's really confusing what we've got this season, because we've had a defensive manager that has really struggled to implement any kind of decent defending. We can play completely shocking, or we can play absolutely brilliant, because we have seen performances where we can defend absolutely shockingly, or we can defend very, very resolutely. And it just seems to be a bit of a mess. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's just 100% convinced me now that we need to move on, because I think anyone who has followed me or has seen me on here before, I've always kind of wanted to stick with Moyes to a point, because I felt like there was a plan. Like last season, we managed to get out of it, and the beginning of this season, we were picking up results. We were actually putting in decent performances. December was amazing, apart from where we completely threw away the quarterfinal against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup. But apart from that, we picked up some really good results. Also we played really poorly against Fulham. It was indifferent, but it's been ever since the turn of the new year, and it just hasn't picked up. It's just got worse. And it has finally convinced me that we need to move on from Moyes, because it's not going to get any better. It's not going to get any better. How can you say that about Tottenham when we have let more goals in than them? I'm not saying that our defence is better than Tottenham's. I'm saying that Tottenham's defence has been poor. I haven't said that our defence is worse than Tottenham's. I never said that. I never said that at all. I said that Tottenham's. What I said is that Tottenham fans complain. One of their complaints about Big Ange is he doesn't put as much effort into the defensive side of their play compared to the amount of effort he puts into the rest of the attacking and the nice football stuff. And that they want him to implement more, have a little bit more defence in there as well, because he's just relying on the defenders being very good defenders, not actually having a full-on defensive plan. And one of their big criticisms is how poor they are from set pieces. And I follow a lot of Tottenham fans on I see a lot of Tottenham fans on TikTok and things like that, where they're talking about Big Ange and say they love the way he plays, but yeah, sometimes they just wish he had a bit. He worked on the defensive side a little bit more. I never said that Tottenham's defence was worse than ours. Never said that. Almiron has moved from 7-1 to 12-1 on Sky Bet. Have they done a story on him recently? But I know he was a favourite at one point. But yeah, I don't think he's very likely at the moment. Almiron, top of our list. There are so much better. He won't leave Sporting with Champions League football to come to us. No European football. Yeah, but see, I see this argument a lot where they say, well, he's not going to leave. He's not going to leave a club that's going to be in the Champions League to come to a club that's not even Europe. But a lot of managers do. Managers do that all the time because the Premier League is like the pinnacle. It is the place where a lot of managers want to be because you get to play in the Premier League, one of the best leagues in the world. You get seen a lot more. So if you do well in the Premier League, you are seen a lot more. Your achievements are noticed a lot more in the Premier League than they are in like the Portuguese league or the Spanish league or whatever. They're not recognised as much over there. So that's one of the reasons why the Premier League is so attractive to not only managers but players as well. Even though they may have Champions League playing for a club in Portugal, but let's be honest, they're Sporting are not going to go and win the Champions League, are they? They may get out of the group stages this is not even the group stage, it's a league next season. There's no drop down into the Europa League. So, so he might look at that and think, yeah, but then I could be the manager that gets West Ham back into Europe. So it's not that, if you're talking about like a Real Madrid or a Bayern Munich or an Inter Milan or someone like that, then yeah, but you're talking about the Portuguese league, which is not even in one of the top leagues in Europe. I don't think it's in one of the top 6 leagues in Europe, is it? I don't think it is. So yeah, it might. I get what you're saying, but it's not that much of a turn off as you probably may think. Almiron and Tuchel but want Premier League jobs. Tuchel will go to Man United. I think Tuchel is hoping for Man United. I think that's the job he wants. I'm not sure that Man United want Tuchel, but I think that's the job that he is vying for. Steve, Moyes should have gone after Prague. He would have wanted more respect. He has got progressively worse. 4 wins in 22, disgraceful. Waved the white flag in Leverkusen sooner. He pisses off the bell. Yeah. Okay. I was happy for him to stay on after Prague. I know loads of people that were, but I understand. I've always understood why people wanted Moyes out a lot earlier than he did. We just all see things different ways, don't we? Yeah. But no, I'll get you. Bayern winning 2-1. Ipswich winning 2-1. Right, go on. Don't want Bayern or Real Madrid. I'm not actually bothered who wins the Champions League now. Now all the Premier League teams are out. I want the best team to win. I tell you what, if Bayern win the Champions League, that could be good for England because it means Kane has broken that trophy curse before the Euros. And then he'll just suddenly go on this massive run where he just wins nearly every trophy that he goes in for. And he'll win the Champions League. That's broken the curse, and he'll go on and win the Euros. Otherwise, he'll have a trophy curse. I'm just trying to think of positives here to Harry Kane winning a trophy. Also, he'll be another player that's left Tottenham and want to win a trophy. That would be funny. I don't know. Maybe it's just the fact I'm looking at the ownership situation from 3K miles away, but bringing in Tim Moyes going all scream, very real chance of change in a power dynamic. I think I'm not reading that correctly, Joes. I don't know. Maybe it's just the fact I'm looking at the ownership from 3K miles away. Should be a call. But bringing in Tim Moyes going all scream. Yeah, I've lost you there, James. I've lost you there, mate. It's the Moyes going all scream, a very real chance of changing the. Yeah, I've lost you there, James. lost you completely, mate. We'll come back. If you want to rewrite that, I'll come to it later. I actually don't want Alwyn to come to us. He has limited experience, has ambition, but I wouldn't want Alwyn to be his test card. Portuguese football is slow, boring at times. Not sure he's good. Yeah, this is another worry for me about Alwyn, that he would only see West Ham United as a stepping stone, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, because I think a lot of managers would come to a team like West Ham United and see us as a stepping stone to move on to a bigger club. That's fine. But I think that the fact that, one, I don't think we would be his first choice. Two, I'm not sure, but he may have used us to try and get the Liverpool job. So another reason that he could be coming to West Ham United is to kind of prove Liverpool wrong for not choosing him. And suddenly, if Arne Slot does poor in his first season and he does really well in his first season, Liverpool will come in and he'd be like, right, I'm off. And then we're back to this position again. I want a manager that would ideally commit to us for at least 3 seasons and say, do you know what? As long as you don't sack me, I will be here and I will work, and then we'll go on from there. That's ideally what I want. You know, we've got a project and we want to build on that project, and we need to give a manager time. Whoever comes in next season, they do need to be given time, because we've got a massive rebuild to do in the summer, and it's not going to be all plain sailing straight away, because there could be a lot of change. A lot of players only used to playing the way that David Moyes has played over the last 3 years, and they may struggle to adjust at first. It may take some time. So, yeah, it could be a really awkward season for us next season. Could be a brilliant one, but could be. Moyes has all the experience. He's not shit. He's not brilliant, but he ain't shit. I have to watch Sporting, living in Portugal with a missus who supports Sporting. I just not convinced Alwyn will make it in the Prem. Fair enough. If you watch, I mean, I don't watch Sporting. I don't. I don't watch Portuguese football. And yeah, I've seen analysis of Alwyn and people giving opinions on him and things like that. That's basically what I'm basing it off. I've seen some of the way the Sporting play sometimes, and it is very high press, and it can be quite attacking football. But yeah, I don't really know enough about the way he plays to know how it would work in the Premier League. But from what I've heard and what I've seen, it does feel like a style that could be exposed by the better teams that are in the Premier League. That was one of the analysis that I saw, that someone was analysing and say, if he moved to the Premier League and played like this, there's a lot of ways Premier League teams would expose them at the back, because the way he plays leaves the back open a lot. Now, just because he plays that way in Sporting doesn't mean he'll come here and play that exact way in the Premier League. If he's a smart manager and he's as good as he says, or a lot of people say he is, then he will adjust the way he plays to suit the Premier League. Might take him a little bit of time, but hopefully he's a progressive manager who learns as he goes on, and he learns of better ways of playing and to implement better defences and things like that. So, but yeah, that is a worry, like that his lack of experience will not be best for West Ham United. I want Moyes out, but make the call now so he can get a send off at the Luton game. As he was once governing with the card, but he's thumbs up. Yeah, no, that's exactly how I feel. I feel like if we know he's leaving, then the fans who want to can show their appreciation to him at that Luton game. We can thank him for the experiences that we have had over the last 3 seasons. We can thank him for that European trophy. We can thank him for all the European football, and we can thank him for everything he's done. Show our appreciation. And the way the media portrays West Ham United fans at the moment is that we don't respect him, or we don't appreciate the things that he's done at all, which could be further from the truth. I think the majority of West Ham fans do respect David Moyes and appreciate some of the things he's done, and will be happy to show that appreciation and thank him. And if West Ham fans are given that time, he can end his tenure at West Ham United on a high, rather it just kind of fizzling out into nothing, and he leaves without really getting to see how West Ham United fans do feel, and like how we do appreciate the job he's done. And I think that just will be a nice way for Moyes to go out. And by Sullivan not making a decision, it might rob him of that. You know? It's just one of the things I feel, really. if this was purely a Sullivan decision, Moyes would be staying. We all know Sullivan is fine with being mid-table club. The face he's being shown the door. It's a Sullivan decision. It's being forced. So I'm not convinced. I get what you're saying, Joe. I'm not convinced that he's happy being a mid-table team, because even as a businessman, if he all he cares is about the business and money side of it, success brings more money. It does. Being in Europe brings in more money, and that is beneficial to not only the club but to him personally. So for that reason, even if he's just looking at West Ham United from a purely business point of view, just being mid-table will not always necessarily be good enough. Yeah, it adds the stability, but he would have enjoyed the financial gain that West Ham have got from being in Europe the last 3 seasons, and he probably wants that to continue. And I know that a lot of people question if he is a West Ham United fan or not. I think he is. I'm just not sure that he feels exactly the same way as a lot of fans do sometimes. And this is something I said to a follower that I met the other day. I think when you had Gold there, I think he was the actual West Ham United fan. Like he was the true West Ham United fan, and he would implement. He would push for things that were better for the club rather than Sullivan. He would have been that kind of like voice of reason in Sullivan's ear, maybe. I don't know if that's true or not. I just feel like Gold always, for me, felt like a West Ham United fan compared to Sullivan. But yeah, even from a business point of view, just being mid-table, while it's good for stability, it's much better being in Europe and fighting for those European places, because it gets you seen, it gets you noticed. It should build the brand, build the business, and become bigger and bigger and bigger. And that is something that Sullivan definitely does want. So I don't think he is happy with just being a mid-table team. And maybe he does see Moyes' tenure coming to an end as well. Maybe he does feel the same way. Maybe he is just looking for someone better. The truth is, like, none of us really know what goes on in that man's head. None of us do. Arne Slot has only managed in Holland, but Liverpool are prepared to take a punt. Yeah, this is true. I'd say Arne Slot to Liverpool is a risk for that reason. I do. I know he was linked with Tottenham last season, and Tottenham really wanted him. And I would have said the same thing. It's like, it is a risk when you've only managed in one league and then you move to another. Sometimes it doesn't work out. So yeah, Arne Slot, good manager, refined, done some brilliant stuff, but he's no way guaranteed to have success at Liverpool. But then it could do, because Klopp had never managed in the Premier League. Mourinho hadn't when he came. Guardiola never managed in the Premier League. So it is possible for managers to adapt. And this is the one of the things I say about Almiron, where I'm not ruling it out. He could be a great manager, but I'm always going to err on the cautious side because of the lack of experience he has had before. And they are genuine reasons to have concern. Genuine reasons. Lucky you for not having to watch sport win. Fair enough. Ian, not sure how relevant the Portuguese league being poor is. A good manager is a good manager. That manager comes to the Premier League, he works with better players, his managerial ability should go through. That's another fair point, Ian. That is a fair point. But sometimes you get managers who just can't adapt to the English game, the way that they want to. A lot of managers are very stubborn with the way they want to play football. Very stubborn, and they don't like to change it up. And sometimes they can come into the Premier League and want to play a certain way and they are convinced that it will work, and they will stick it here for so long. They're convinced it will work, and it just doesn't. And then they end up failing because they were unwilling to change their ways. But then they can go to, maybe La Liga or Serie A and go play that same way, and it does work in that league, because different styles of football work better in different leagues. It's just the way that things are. And the Premier League is very unique for the different styles of football you get, which is one of the reasons David Moyes was done so well in Europe, because a lot of European teams don't ever really face up against a team that plays the way that David Moyes plays. That's why I think he had a lot of success in Europe, because European teams are not used to facing teams that play Moyes ball, basically. Jose Mourinho, Portugal. Yeah. I'm not saying he's a bad manager. I'm not. I'm just saying, doesn't necessarily mean he's going to do brilliant. I wanted Sporting in the Europa. We would have won both legs, high press, fragile defence. Antonio would have done Sporting by himself. How good has Antonio been though last few games? He's really come back. I think Moyes said it as well in his press conference after the Liverpool game, that Antonio looks the fittest that he's been in a couple of years, and I think that's really good. This sounds really promising. Like if he is fighting back now, I'm not saying that Antonio is an answer to all our problems next season. He still needs to be benched next season. We still need to bring in a goddamn striker. He can't be our first choice striker going forward. But he can still do it. If he keeps himself fit, he could definitely have an impact off the bench. 100%. We do need a striker in the summer. Hopefully a new manager with a new system can find a striker that will fit into the system that they want to play, hopefully. But it is good to see that Antonio is playing some good football again. It's 3 goals in 3 games, which is really good. And he can be a right menace. And he was a menace against Bayer Leverkusen in both legs. He really did cause them a lot of problems. James, I'm fine with Ruben coming as a young man. Being humbled by the Premier League allows him to grow and evolve as a coach. It allows West Ham to grow and evolve as a club. Okay, cool. Yeah. I say, if Ruben comes in, I'm not going to suddenly go, no. I'm not that. It's like 4 managers at the moment. I did a video over on my YouTube page talking about like the 4 likely candidates at the moment, which are Almelin, Fonseca, Lopetegui, and Flick. And what I said was like, Fonseca's the one that probably excites me the most because of his experience, and I think he would do a really good job. Almelin, I would be very excited about, but cautious because of his lack of experience, because you never know how it's going to work out. So yeah, they would be my 2 choices. If we can get Almelin in, that would be great. But I'm just not convinced at the moment that he would definitely be a good manager. And you just never know. This is the point. You just never know. You don't know how managers come in. As I say, a manager could tick all the boxes, and then they could come in and be shit. Or you get a manager in that only ticks half the boxes and then comes in and be brilliant. I don't think Almelin ticks every single box, but he could come in and be brilliant. He could. He definitely could. But then you could say the same about Lopetegui as well, who is someone that I don't want to see at West Ham. He could come in and do brilliant. It could happen. Could happen. Same as Hans Flick as well, who doesn't really have a huge amount of domestic experience apart from Bayern Munich and Hoffenheim back in like the early 2000s. So apart from that, he was German coach. I think he was the only ever German coach to be sacked. I don't think he's going to join now. I think the most. It's between 3 at the moment. I think it is Almelin, Fonseca or Lopetegui. I think it's probably going to be one of those 3 who comes in. Right, at the end of the day, Sullivan will get in who he wants, not him, so we need to get behind whoever manages. Go, yeah, whoever comes in, we do need to get behind them. You're 100%. Like, I never wanted Moyes. And I know that some people who never wanted Moyes never changed their mind on that. They stuck to their guns for the whole thing, and that's fair enough. I didn't. I kind of came to the fact to accept that, he done a good job at West Ham, and I ended up getting behind him. I ended up supporting him, and now he's gone full circle, and I'm like, no, it's time for him to move on. So yeah, no, whoever comes in will get my full support. I'll give him my trust, because as I literally just said just then, I could be wrong. I could be. Lopetegui could come in. He could be amazing. We don't know. Agent for Fonseca said that no one from West Ham has approached him. If that's true, not on their list then. yeah, I don't always believe things you read in the news and agents and things like that. You don't even know if he is an agent for Fonseca. You don't know if that is a true quote. Maybe they just haven't approached him yet. You don't know. But I think he is on their list. I do. At least we are no longer looking at managers like Big Sam, Steve Bruce, Tony Pulis, etc. Oh, God, do you imagine another Big Sam? No, not another Big Sam. I'm glad we're not looking at Graham Potter. I'm glad we're not looking at him. Apparently, he is not someone who's up for consideration. Neither's Mourinho, by the way, either. He's not up for consideration. I've got a 5 on Moyes getting a 1-2 year deal on his contract. What odds did you get on that? Mike Asher, what odds did you get on that? Not beyond the realms of possibility. No, he's going Moscow. Moyes is going to Russia. Have you not heard? Spartak Moscow want him as manager. He's going to go Russia. Go fight on the front line. Someone put in my comments, of course Russia want him for a counter-attack, and I thought that was a very clever comment. If he wasn't fine being a mid-table team once Moyes started 24 on a 4-game losing streak, he would have been fired and the caretaker manager would have been brought in. No, not necessarily. Yet again, this goes down to money. I think when it came to Sullivan, he at the beginning it was like, well, I'm not going to sack him because I have to pay him out, and there's no guarantee any manager could come in and do a better job. He cares about staying in the Premier League, and yeah, I think the recent results, as I've always said, if Moyes had got us into Europe, and he may still kind of like think there is a possibility that we can get into Europe. I don't think there's a possibility. I've always said, if Moyes gets us into Europe, Sullivan will offer him a new contract. But because we're probably not, that will be the reason why he goes. Because he's not happy with us being a mid-table team. He wants to see us in Europe. And bringing in a caretaker manager now is never a guarantee that's going to work. Sometimes you just better stick in with the manager. You know, how many times have you seen a caretaker manager come in and then do absolutely nothing? And it doesn't always work. There's no guarantee you can bring in a caretaker manager and they're going to do anything different than what the existing manager is going to do, especially when the existing manager has got a record of picking up results when they're not expected. So he was never going to do it. And the reason why he won't have David Moyes, why he won't offer him a new contract, is because we won't get Europe. Because if he did, I guarantee you, if we got into Europe, he would have offered David Moyes a new contract. I guarantee that would have happened. Moyes is very limited. He could use Scamacca, and look how he's doing now. No, I keep on seeing this argument against Scamacca. He was a lazy bastard at West Ham United. He was a lazy. He does not suit. He did not suit. He didn't suit the system, which was fair enough because he didn't. But he just didn't work hard enough. He was lazy. Didn't suit the speed of the Premier League. He does fit the Italian league perfectly. You know, it suits him. But his own manager now, even though he keeps on playing him, has come out and said, yeah, he's a good player and he does really well, but he's lazy. He could be an incredible player if he actually worked hard. So that's what his existing manager is saying now. And I think that's what we saw in him. We saw the potential, but he just didn't work hard enough. And I don't think he was ever happy in England either. So I think that played a part of it. So it's not all down to Moyes. It's not. Just sometimes the player is just not right, not happy, doesn't commit themselves. And I think that was Scamacca's problem. He never really looked happy. He did have kind of resting bitch face anyway, but yeah, I don't think we ever saw. We saw glimpses of his potential, but he always looked a lazy person on the pitch to me. Yeah, but what Mr. Gold's health like last few years before he passed, I remember reading something about him being sick in. Remember about being sick in 19. I don't know what Mr. Gold's health was like, to be honest with you. I don't. What David Gold's. Slot is the sacrificial lamb at Liverpool. Very possible. The Premier League is way more physical than 90% of the other European leagues. I will give it that. Yeah, it is. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's just, it's a very different league, and players and managers do, some do really struggle to adapt to the Premier League. Stuart, what's going on with the training ground in Basel? Didn't you ask that last week? I still don't know. I haven't heard anything. I don't know if that's happening yet. I think they're still looking for a possible training ground, or they're looking to redevelop the Rush Green one. I don't know. I haven't heard anything. If I do, it'll be on my TikTok, or it'll be over on my YouTube page, which you can go follow, West Ham Fan 86. And I'm posting stuff up on there now. So if you want to go follow me and subscribe over there as well, you get match previews, match reviews, match vlogs, and just general chit chat videos as well. Kind of similar to what comes on this page, but a little bit different, my point of view. So if you want to go watch things like that, you can go over to my YouTube page, West Ham Fan 86 or West Ham Alex. You can go find that and go hit that subscribe button. You'll see news, or go follow me on my TikTok, because that's where you'll get a lot of news as well. You may see me on the West Ham Network TikTok page as well occasionally. I'm getting about it. Whoever next West Ham manager season got give him a chance. 100% agree there, Darren. Brownman did decide to come. I highly doubt it. The club would have to replace most players, bring in some strong strikers and wing backs. Would be expensive season next year. Yeah, because he does like to play with inverted wing backs, don't he? He likes to play. The way he plays over in Portugal is a back three, which is another reason why I question if it would work in the Premier League, because the majority of Premier League clubs don't tend to play like that. It's not a system that works brilliantly in the Premier League. So that's another reason why I would question if his style of play. He would have to adjust his style of play. But yeah, we need new players anyway. Now, there's news today that we want Creswell to stay, but we're going to let Johnson go. I feel like we've definitely got that massively backwards. I feel Creswell needs to move on. I think he wants to move on. I think he wants to go, and I think Johnson wants to stay if he's offered the right man, but we're not willing to offer him what he wants. It's a really screwed up thing at West Ham. Yeah, let's keep the 34-year-old and let the 20-odd something go. Screwed up. Absolutely screwed up. But hopefully we bring in someone like Leif Davies, maybe, of Ipswich. I think is a really exciting young left back. He could be good, and we're being linked with players all the time. Jacob Greaves, Hull, couple of Coventry players. I think that Tosin Labiola, or whatever his name is, from Fulham, that's a centre back. We're looking at a Brazilian winger who looks quite exciting. So I think it's going to be. I genuinely do think it's going to be a very, very, very exciting summer in the transfer window for West Ham United. I think we are going to be seeing a lot of action, and we could be seeing 7, 8, maybe even 9 players coming to West Ham. We will see a lot of movement. It's going to be a big shake-up this summer, and hopefully we get in a manager who can oversee that whole shake-up and get it to his liking, so we can hit the ground running. That'll be ideal. Which is another reason why I think it's really important we make this appointment quickly. We get it in place, ready for the start of pre-season. So we're there, we're ready to go. And hopefully before, so he's got a little time to prepare and wait. 25 for 1. Is that for Moyes to be offered a new contract? That's good odds. Take that. Slot will do a season at Liverpool foul and be our manager after Moyes has completed his extension. You say things like that as a joke, but it could happen. I absolutely agree. If we stayed in Europe, Moyes would get a new 48-month contract. Yeah. I do. And I think the reason why he won't get a new contract is because we're not in Europe. No striker fits on Moyes' squad. You're not wrong. Unless they're a converted winger, they don't really fit into Moyes' system, because he asks his striker to do a lot more than just be a striker. He wants him to run the channels and things like that, which is why a player like Solanke, I think, would really kind of fit in at West Ham United in a Moyes system, because he does a lot of that for Bournemouth. So he was a player that I was looking at if Moyes was going to be there to bring in. There was a striker that I thought we should have brought in last summer, but I don't. I think what they were quoting was a little beyond what we were willing to pay. If Moyes, it's Moyes' job to get his players to play well. Pepper's done it for years. It is Moyes' job to get the players to play well. It is. But sometimes, and I do have to stick with this by my guys, sometimes you got to hold the players responsible sometimes, because some of the performances this season, like, you're looking at it, you're saying, Moyes has not told them to do that. Why are they, some of the mistakes, some of the plays, some of the decisions they make, you know, it's just terrible. That first half performance against Crystal Palace, that could have happened for any manager. Like, the way that they performed in that first half was absolutely shocking. Moyes, to be fair, has kept us up. That's turned a negative into a positive. Alex, who's your dream manager choice, and how many players would you keep in our starting 11? Well, that's a good question. My dream, well, you know, I feel like Guardiola needs to test himself. You know, he's only been at clubs that always win, have got the best players. If he wants to prove himself as being one of the best managers in the world, he needs to come to a team like West Ham and take us to the level of those other teams. If he could do that, then he'll be the best manager in the world. I reckon we should bring him in. Ideal manager, though. It's really difficult to say who your ideal manager would be, because, as I say, like, managers don't always work out. I think Tuchel would probably do a good job. I do like Fonseca as well. Alman could be interesting. I'd probably say I would be very excited about that, but as I've said before, very cautious. Looking at the ones we've got available, I would say Fonseca at the moment. But keep from our starting 11, I'd keep Areola, definitely. I'd keep Emerson. I would probably move on to Gued and Zuma. I'd keep Mavropanos. We need at least two centre backs to come in the summer. I'd keep if Johnson leaves, because I would keep Johnson, but he wouldn't be the starting. I think we need a new right back in the summer. We need someone else who could play on that right, and then whoever's left would be the backup. So we need a new right back. Keep Alvarez, keep Ward-Prowse. I'd keep Sojek. Now, I wouldn't have these as a starting 11, like these be the starting players. I still think Ward-Prowse had a fantastic first half of the season, then kind of just fell off in the second half of the season. But yeah, I'd keep Alvarez. I'd keep both of them, but I wouldn't have them as our first choice. I'd bring in another central midfielder and just have one of them, maybe. I would keep Paquetá if he could commit himself to West Ham United, but if he's going to be putting in performances like he has, maybe we should just take the money and accept it and move on. Then I would bring in someone like Morgan Gibbs-White. I think he would be really good. My question is how do we utilise Kudus and Bowen in the same team? Because I feel like Kudus is a hell of a lot better on that right-hand side than he is on the left. But Bowen is also his best on that right-hand side. I was like, how do we utilise both of them? Because, yeah, Kudus could do a job on that left-hand side, but he just doesn't... I don't feel like we get the best out of him on that left-hand side. I feel where you get the best of him is when he's on that right side, he cuts inside into the middle and tries to go through the middle. That's where he really works really, really well. But he doesn't tend to do that on the left. He gravitates more to his left-hand side, so he then ends up running down the line a lot more than cutting into the middle because he's more comfortable on his left-hand side than his right-hand side. So, yeah, we need to find a way that we can... I would probably put Kudus through the middle and bring in someone new to play on that left, then have Bowen on the right, and then have a new striker through the middle. Antonio as a backup, probably. Went to the stadium tour and it was awesome walking around the ground. Oh, that's cool. Oh, who was your because you went with a legend, didn't you, Stuart? What legend did you go with? I don't see how recruiting Lopetegui fits into there, whether he's his certain demand, he's in charge of transfers, as evident at Wolves. That's a good point. yeah, it doesn't fit into the director of football model. Because yeah, no, he did want to have more control of China, and that's they had creative differences, and I don't think Wolves could afford some of like his demands, so they mutually agreed to um to part ways. So yeah, that is a good point. He doesn't really fit into that model, and that's more evidence for me that he's not a good choice for our next manager. Can't believe we're going to let Johnson leave. Yeah, me either. I feel like we should work really hard. I mean, I've heard that what he wanted seemed to be quite high. I feel like it might have been high, but I I feel like we should make some leeway for him because I'm still not convinced that he is a starting player, but he really does give his all when he plays, and he's a good utility player, but he's very versatile. Can play in quite a few positions, so I think he's a good player to have around. Which is why I think there's many teams out there that would be really happy to take him on. Jacqueline, the club should absolutely be keeping Johnson. He's a great squad player. Yeah. Creswell been in decline for years. Agree that we should be keeping Johnson. Yeah. Maybe Johnson wants to leave. I think Johnson is open to leaving, but would prefer to stay at West Ham if he can get the money that he is reportedly being offered by other clubs. I think other clubs are willing to offer him money because he will get first team football at other clubs, but he's not guaranteed the first team football at West Ham United. That's why we're not willing to offer him the same amount. So I think that's why he's. I think he's been working really hard to try and prove himself to West Ham this season. That's why you've seen him really improve this season. I hope that we can come to agreement, but it does look very likely that he will probably move on. 3-4-2-1, 3-4-3 Rubens preferred formation with the wingbacks being very involved in the attacking side. I think the adjustment to the Premier League would not having his wingback play so forward. Yeah, that would have to be the adjustment to the Premier League. Because he does commit a lot of players forward, and one of the analysis that I saw for Almlin and the way he plays is they don't like going down the wings, so they try and commit more players through the middle and put pressure up top, which would probably leave some. So if you imagine the squad now, you'd have, let's say we had 3 at the back, and then a holding midfielder and 2 wing backs. You'd have all the players apart from maybe 2 defenders and Alvarez back there, and it would be Alvarez kind of like managing that whole massive midfield area on his own, and that is a space that was highlighted that could definitely be exploited in the Premier League, where it's not exploited as much in Portugal. 25-1 Moyes extension, fiver. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Do you know what? That's good odds. I don't think it'll happen, but it could be interesting. I think the first half CP was the result of dead legs because of the tiny squad we have. The NBA has turned Premier League clubs need to learn load management. Yeah, I mean, I always knew that the Crystal Palace performance was going to be a little bit under par because of the high intensity performance that we're putting against Bayer Leverkusen. I just did not expect it to be as bad as it was. Like, I knew it was going to be a legend performance, but I think Crystal Palace also knew that and really went at us, and it exploited some of those tired legs. Ipswich 1-2-1. I think that's near enough guaranteed. Not quite, because I think they just need a draw now, don't they? They just need a draw in the final game of the season, then they will automatically be promoted, which is great for Ipswich, actually. That's good for them. I don't mind Ipswich. Play Kudus in the middle. Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to go. I think that's probably the best route to go, especially if Paquetá moves on. The thing is that Kudus doesn't offer the technical ability that Paquetá does. Like his passing range and things like that, because Paquetá does have he's got a good eye for those passes and things like that. He's not very good at running with the ball. We saw that against Bayer Leverkusen. He's terrible at running with the ball, but he's got great ball control. Now, Kudus does have that, and he can get himself out of sticky situations like Paquetá does, but I don't think he has the range of passing that Paquetá does in that middle. I don't know if he can do that whole number 10 role. he is more of a winger. Maybe just given a free role. Maybe he's the attacker. Maybe he's the attacker. We utilise Bowen as attacker. We utilise Kudus as an attacker through the middle. Maybe we play two up top and don't have anyone in that number 10 role, and one of them drops back. Maybe, I don't know. It's not up to me. It's up to whoever is managing West Ham next season. But I just feel like we've got to find a way to utilise Kudus a lot better than we have been, because I feel like we're not getting the best of him out on that left hand side. I think Kudus could be developed centrally under the right manager. Yeah. Move Kudus to backman's attacking midfield slot, which is there at his best. Fair enough, James. Yeah. Packing Kudus will be gone in the summer. Pack, yeah. He can go Kudus. He can play left centre. Kudus won't be gone in the summer. Pack, maybe. I'm still not convinced Packers will go, because he's still got this. Whenever anyone's talking about these matches, they always fail to mention the fact that he's still under investigation for all these betting stuff. And unless all that is resolved, he ain't going anywhere. He could still be at West Ham United next season, because Man City are not going to pay out a large amount of money if there is a risk that he could get banned. And there still is a risk. While he's under investigation, there is still a risk. Even though it doesn't look very likely, they can't be 100% certain. So there is still a possibility that he could be at West Ham United next season. And he indicated in a recent interview as well, where he said he doesn't want to talk about it. There's a lot of things happening off the field, which he's obviously talking about those betting things. So he doesn't know what's going on. No one does. So they could both be at West Ham United next season. Kudus ain't going anywhere. Not next season. Season after maybe, but not this summer. No. I did stadium tour, so can't recommend enough. It was a really good morning. Yeah, I do want to go and do it. I need to go and do it. I went with Phil Parks. He spent the whole time slacking off the owners. I've heard some things about Phil Parks that doesn't surprise me. Remember when Wolves were the Portuguese team of the Prem? First season they did well, then everyone worked. That's how I feel about Alwyn. Yeah. No, I remember that. They were the Portuguese team. They had loads of Portuguese players coming, didn't they? Loads of them. Do you see Russ in his DJ booth on the tour? I have no idea. I don't think you'll see him in his booth, because he's not usually there during the tours, because they're not match days, and that's when he's usually there. You might see his booth, maybe. I don't know. I haven't been on it yet. Does Russ live in his booth? Yeah, that's where he just does all his stuff from. I do see him outside the stadium, and he walks into a car park to go and get in a car. So I think he does drive home. So no, I don't think he does live in that booth. He maybe he's got a little booth at home that looks very similar to his booth at the West Ham Stadium. You know, like a comfort zone, maybe. I don't know. That's what he could be in when he does these videos. Could just be a little booth. We don't know. I'm in a tiny little booth, to be honest with you. Tiny little office. You could just see the tiny part. You can't see the mess that surrounds it. It's the great thing. You can choose. Russ was born in his booth, was moulded and shaped by it. Oh dear. It's switching his 1 point to go. A draw at home to Huddersfield would be enough. Yeah. No chance of us getting Davies if they go up. No, of course there is. Any championship side coming up will look at the championship sides this season and be like, there's no guarantee. Any player that comes up for the championship side will look at the team side and say, there's no guarantee we're going to do good. Because there isn't. And at the end of the day, West Ham is still a bigger club than Ipswich. So, yeah, if West Ham come in for him and he wants to go, then, yeah, of course he could. There'd be no difference from one player moving from one Premier League club to another. Watch Porto v Sporting at the weekend. Shocking 2-2 draw. Both were bad. Full of mistakes. Sporting nicked 2 goals in the 86th and 88th minute. The setup was typical when working the Prem. it's good to get this. It's good to get this knowledge and hear from people who actually do watch sporting. That's good to hear. Kudus as a striker, I like that alternative thing. It's just an idea. It's just an idea. He could play that striker role because he has got the pace. He could work on a counter. We know he can shoot, even though we have seen him sky some shots this season. He did go for a period where he didn't have his shooting boots on at all. But some strikers go through that stage anyway, don't they? It's an option. It's an option. I don't know. I personally think the best position for him is off that right-hand side, but he's not going to be favoured in that right-hand side while Bowen is playing there, unless Bowen is not playing or Bowen is being played as a striker for the middle. Maybe Bowen could play that middle role behind the striker, that number 10 role, because he does have a good kind of passing range. He's good at crossing. He's got a good cross conversion. Maybe Bowen could be adapted in that position and Kudus is on the right, and then we have a striker going up top sitting behind Bowen, because then Bowen can still do what he does. Maybe that's an option that someone will consider. I wonder if offering Kosovo a new deal is more telling than we think. I can only see Moyes being the driving force for this one, which is worrying. There's logic there that you can't argue with, isn't there? There's logic that you can't argue with. I hope Paquetá goes. He's just not putting his weight. Expensive player for a few flicks and tricks and then lose the ball and fall over. That is pretty much that has described Paquetá's performances recently perfectly. Yeah, that's what he's been doing recently. But he is a brilliant player, and he can be a brilliant player. I think there's more going on behind the scenes with Paquetá than we know about. I do. I feel like there is something else going on there that we may not be privileged to. So sometimes, as that old saying goes, don't always judge a book by its cover because you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So yeah, you don't know. Paquetá maybe waiting to see about City's 115 charges as well. That is a good point as well. It's a risk for Paquetá to go Man City because I think it's been indicated that the Premier League is going to be, actioning on that maybe sometime next season, possibly. I'm not sure if it will be. I think it's going to be 2025. When in 2025, I don't know. So it'll be sometimes next year. And yeah, for all you know, he could end up there and then could find himself in the Championship. I don't think he will. I don't think Man City are going to get relegated to the Championship. They could see like a significant points reduction and a transfer embargo. I think that's possible. You never know. Met Phil Parks when I was playing years ago. He gave me a pair of gloves. Top bloke. Cool. Pep wants to offload Grealish. I personally wouldn't mind a swap at Paquetá. He's definitely going. Yeah, that's not a bad call. I've not always been Grealish's biggest fan personally, but I do recognise that he is a good player. But, him off that left, Kudus on the right, Bowen through the middle, all those three interchangeable, can all play in the positions, and then you have one central striker, whoever it may be. I'm sure we can find a decent player to come in and play in that position. I think that could be exciting. Alvarez in that midfield with someone else who can, kind of control that midfield as well. Maybe not James Ward-Prowse, maybe not Soucek, maybe someone else. That's a possibility. A couple of new centre-backs, or maybe one new centre-back in Mavropanos, because I think Mavropanos is a good player. He makes the odd mistake, but I think if he's partnered up with a really good centre-back if he's got a really good centre-back partnership, then I think that could really work. I actually think Aguerd could be a really good defender in the right system. I don't think he suits that playing deep and defending system. He's a good defender otherwise. So a new manager might come in and like to keep Aguerd and get the best out of him. But yeah, a new left. I'm not bothered about Emerson being left back. I think he's a good left back. Someone on the right though, we definitely need someone who can play on that right hand side. So to the first team, I don't think there's a huge amount of changes. it's that strength in depth that we really need to work on. So yeah, we do need someone else who can come in and play on that left-hand side. We do need, having Antonio on the bench is an option, but should never be a first choice going forward. I think he's past it now. So yeah, we're going to see a lot of changes in the summer. We definitely are. Russ lives in his booth, comes out for a walk around match day, then straight back in his booth. Chelsea prediction for Sunday, and they play Spurs on Thursday. I might be going to that Chelsea game. I might be there. I'm not 100% sure yet. I might be there. I don't know. It depends who's playing. Is it going to be Chelsea or is it going to be Cole Palmer FC? If it's Cole Palmer FC, then I don't know. But we always seem to turn up for games against Chelsea. I can see it ending in a draw. We love a draw this season, don't we? We do. We love a draw this season. I don't think we'll get annihilated. I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be a 2-2 draw. I would love us to get the win there. But I think a draw is most likely. 72 watching, only 17 likes. Come here, hammers, click that thumbs. 72 watching. Got 200 watching. Thank you very much. All right. You think Pac-Man will end up at Man United? Nah. He won't end up at Man United. God, I hope not. Nah, I don't think he will. Right. We are going to bring this live to a close for this week. Thank you all for coming in, and thank you for all the comments and the conversation. It's all been really, really, really cool. If you want to if you want to hear about some of the other managerial options that we've got, you can head over to my YouTube page, which is at West Ham Fan 86, to go and have a look at that video. That's just me breaking down, the history of all those managers. You'll be interested in seeing while you're over there. If you want to go and hit the subscribe button over there, I would massively, massively appreciate it. You can also find me on TikTok as well, where you'll get daily videos on there. So hope you've had a really good evening, guys. Thank you very much for joining me. I will be back next Tuesday, 9 p.m. as per usual, and I hope you all have a good evening, and hopefully we've got a brilliant game and fantastic win against Chelsea to talk about next Thursday, and maybe the days have stopped being Dithering. Probably won't, but you never know. Anyway, have a good evening all, and I shall see you all next Tuesday. Come on, you Irons.